Good Gab, sponsored by Skillskin, a nonprofit organization empowering individuals with disabilities through employment. Another interesting conversation today, everybody. We have the great pleasure to have Kurtis Kelly from Canopy Credit Union, the Director of Marketing and Community Development. Kurtis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is my pleasure today.
Kurtis, what's happening? How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm really great today.
Good.
Yeah, just working through the throes of winter here in good old Spokane, Washington.
It's been warmer. It's made that easier this time.
Yeah, I know. Where's the snow?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get any before the holidays, and I'm ready for it to not be here post-holiday. So it'll be interesting come January and February.
So do you play in the snow? Do you is that your
I'm
world?
A sledder.
Sledder,
Yeah,
all right.
And I snowshoe, but I never got into skiing or snowboarding. And at this point of my life, I'm wondering if it's probably too late to go beat my body up and learn this. So
it's never too
late.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm a summer person myself.
Okay.
I want to,
be on the water.
So I'm always thankful for this time of year because any bit of moisture that's coming down is going to, rise the level of the lakes.
That's right. There you go.
And I just know, like, this is the payment for all the summer fun.
Make it greener. Yeah, I love that.
Heck yeah. Well, how's your morning going? What's going on?
It's been good. It's just all the end of the year wrap up stuff right now, but it's also just an exciting time of year because everyone seems to be either taking time off that they're ready for or just have events going on that bring them joy in life. So
totally.
Yeah, there's an energy in the air.
Well, and Canopy Credit Union continues to get a lot of press right now. You guys are doing big things in this world.
You.
And maybe let our listeners know what's happening.
Oh, boy, we have a lot happening right now. It's been a busy year for us just in terms of we've really leveled up our community development. And we've had a lot of fun playing around in new areas that we haven't had expertise in the past. So we almost put our learning caps on again.
Okay, like what kind of things?
New for us this year, we've always really focused on financial education. That's been a big part for us as our mission. And providing that to communities that may have been overlooked by financial institutions in the past or just not had access to financial information. And this year we started doing translated workshops. So that's what we've done 5 or 6 different languages this year. And
it sounds like a giant lift.
Yeah, it has been a big lift. And it's also been very humbling learning about different cultures, financial institution, and their just financial system, so we can help relate it to what ours are and how it's similar and different.
I would never put that together, but it makes sense, right? Yeah. You come from maybe a different part of the world, those systems are going to be different.
Yeah, they're like, what's a credit score? And so then we're looking at, okay, does your financial system have something similar? If yes, we can relate it. If no, buckle in.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. So it's been a really humbling and really fun experience. And I didn't come from the financial industry. I came from social work. And so it was
that
really
seems
cool.
unique.
Yeah, it was a pivot. And thankfully I was able to, it feels very similar at times, which is nice too.
Well, here, help us understand some of those similarities, because that seems like a way left turn going from social services into, the credit union world.
Yeah, it was actually a really fun journey in terms of I did my undergrad and grad focusing on social work, and then did that for a while and really loved it, but just knew that I didn't have probably the thick enough skin and tenacity.
You're softy at heart, Kurtis. All right, well, I feel you. Me too.
The tears coming down. Yeah. Started looking around and ended up being able to get my MBA at Whitworth, and through that met a lot of colleagues in Charlotte, our CEO, and she started talking about Canopy, and I was like, that sounds really cool and all, but I had my perspective of businesses and organizations then, and I grew up in the nonprofit world, so I was like, is this legit?
Right.
And
a little skepticism.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
fair.
It could be healthy. And saw a job at Canopy, and I was like, well, that really feels, it was in community development. And I was like, well, that really feels like it kind of marries what I've just learned in my MBA and what I have learned previously in social work. And thankfully, they took a chance on a guy that had no previous financial institution experience. And I've just loved it ever since. And for the first couple months, I was kind of waiting for, to peek behind the curtains. Like, okay, I know we're all saying that, we really are passionate about this. And then I just kind of got hit by a track, and I was like, oh, this is legit. Everyone here is here for a purpose and to serve the community. And we find areas that typically are overlooked by other financial institutions, not out of any wrongdoing, more of just, hey, where's the support at? And we kind of call it our rear view mirror, where have we driven past, and we can look and see where we've missed, so we can turn the car around and go provide support there.
Man, we can make a movie about our lives.
There
It'd
we
be
go.
called Trading Places.
I like it.
Yeah, you came from the nonprofit social services. I came from the corporate, and yeah.
Okay, nice. That's
but
awesome.
There's similarities, right? And there's a need for people
For
like
sure.
us in these different environments.
Yeah, you can bring a different lens to this is how it is from this perspective with this organization we're helping right now.
Yeah, and just help more people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlotte has a way about her, huh?
She does. She is, she's legit. It was like three. Oh, go ahead.
I was to say, I just started up the Whitworth certificate in executive leadership.
Nice.
And
Are you with like Dan Mahoney and Kevin?
Yep, and Kevin Parker.
Yeah.
And that was so we just did our first session, maybe 8-9 weeks ago.
Congrats.
And yeah, we're gearing up for January, and I'm just starting to get into like the Whitworth universe.
Okay.
And
nice.
it is a
Welcome.
universe. Yeah, thank you. I'm really seeing it. And then I connected up with Charlotte, and like we'd been talking a little bit, and I raised my hand. I'm like, can Charlotte be our group's mentor, please?
Yeah.
Because she's just doing cool stuff and just captivating individual.
Yeah, 100%. It was actually in Dan Mahoney's class where he talked about, what's the difference between a manager and a leader. And I was like, one weekend at Canopy, and I was like, okay, she's just a leader through and through. I mean, wherever the torch goes, we will follow, just because, you have full trust in that. And you're just excited about what's going to be new and exciting and passionate in that area. So,
well, I love hearing that, and I can see it, and why an organization might take a chance on someone that doesn't quite fit the mold, right? Yeah. But like really belongs.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm still thankful for that too. So,
well, I can see it. So a lot of our listeners, like, they benefit from direct donations from credit unions, including yours.
For sure.
And I think a lot of us are just real curious, like, how does that work in the background? How do organizations decide who they're going to, work with and what kind of priorities they're going to have for a given year?
That's a great question. It kind of depends on what those first just core values or mission of that, let's just say financial institutions, what their core value or mission is. And does it align with them? And so we have some financial institutions here that focus a lot on education or certain types of workforces. And then they can say, okay, does this nonprofit or organization align with who our core membership is or our core values are? If yes, then let's move them on to that next bucket. And then other times for us too, and a lot of financial institutions have a lot of thoughtful conversations around, have we supported this organization before? Maybe, how much support do they have? Maybe they are overlooked. And for us, that's kind of our bread and butter. Who's helping the helpers? And so then we say, okay, they're not getting a lot of necessarily attention or financial support. So maybe that's where we come in, and we can do maybe a pair of boots on the ground and some financial support too, to see.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different ways to support, right? Not
absolutely.
just money.
Yeah, 100%. And so we try to be really creative with that, because we also find that builds just really genuine relationships with those organizations too. And we're able to pick their brain and see, this is great to support you with this event, but what's the next year or 2 years or 3 years look like for you?
Okay,
how
so
can we build
sometimes these are long-term
for sure.
relationships.
We especially don't like to just say like, oh yeah, we'll support you this year and then thanks. We like to say, this is the beginning of our relationship this year, and then we're excited to see where we're at 3 years from now.
Anything culturally that drives that decision making?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think again, it starts with the top, right? And so Charlotte's been really passionate about serving the underserved, and that just trickles down with fire, right? And so we get really passionate in our community development team about, okay, these are areas that we're passionate about as Canopy. These are areas that, again, might be overlooked, or just doing really cool work that's unique for our community, right? And so this year we've been really focused on translated education and workshops. And so it's like, cool, and unfortunately there's a lot of organizations that are under supported in that area.
Sure.
And so it's like, cool, we're going to buckle up and see how many of them we can help this year. And then there's just really fun organizations too that are doing unique things that are close to home with our community and that we're proud of and want to be a part of.
Anything that you want to highlight today that just like really speaks to you personally?
Yeah. So growing up in the nonprofit world, because my mom's always been in nonprofits. And
okay, so this is in your blood.
Yeah, 100%. I love focusing on organizations where it's kind of the underdog too, right? And so this year for us, we've worked a lot with Thrive, Manzanita House, Carl Maxey Center, and just cool organizations that are lifting people up and empowering them in different ways. And we have this triangle that we look at with Canopy. And so are you underserved? Are you under-resourced, or are you underestimated? And if you fall into that bucket, it's like, cool, we want to make sure that you're not any of those anymore. And how can we come in and help that?
I love just putting those parameters together.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Now we can say that you fit into what we want to do, and we're going to really help.
Yeah, for sure.
I keep thinking here, I'm sure you get random calls like, Kurtis, we're thinking about this. We need some help doing it. Like, what's your role in that? Like, are you boots on the ground sometimes? Are you, making resources, move around? Like,
yeah,
how do you fit in?
We're pretty crafty in terms of that. I am boots on the grounds a lot of the times with that.
So you're not just the guy with the big check walking down the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's more fun that way too, right? It's always great to be able to financially support an organization.
Sure.
But I have way more fun going to meet them, teaching a financial education workshop. And that's that part of social work that really checks that box without having to be in a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I love going, and it's, typically once or twice a week, I'll go do some form of workshop or education with a different nonprofit we're working with, or for-profit too, because we know that a lot of people are financially struggling right now and don't have that information.
Yeah, it's like if you didn't have great role models in that, how would you know? It's not taught in school.
And
it's not taught at your work generally
unless
you partner with someone like you.
And it's been a historically taboo topic in the household too, right? And so it's
fair, right?
Becoming more normalized, but
I'm just thinking about my own self too. It's like my parents, thank goodness, they talked to me about saving. I think the best thing they taught me about financial literacy was the idea of compound interest.
Oh,
I didn't listen to them.
They're brilliant.
But they taught me. That's why I can't fault you, Mom and Dad. But yeah, it was they definitely had that conversation, but that's just not the case in every household, right?
That's what is Einstein. Most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. So look at that. Your parents are going.
I believe it now. Now I got some years under me. Okay, I think about just our organization at Skillskin and some of the work. I mean, we exist to help adults with disabilities, and employment is our world.
That's amazing.
We've never pulled in this idea of like financial literacy as a topic for learning.
Yeah,
I think we need to.
It's great you say that too. I was meeting with someone last night, and they work with Goodwill as a contractor, and they are hoping for an organization to get certified in financial coaching for adults with disabilities. It's a specific certification you can get, and I was like, sold. Canopy will do that, just because, again, another either underserved, under-resourced, or underestimated population.
Yeah, we're checking some of these boxes.
And
we want to be a part of that.
Yeah, I want to be a part of that too.
Because a lot of the times, like it's their first job when they come to work for us, and so we're good about like getting them connected to bank accounts. Like, hey, you don't really want to check.
Right.
Let's talk about direct deposit. Like, we're great at those conversations.
Nicely done.
But then we that's the end.
Sure.
So if we can have a partner to like really dive into like the complexities and details of, what financial literacy is.
For sure.
I just see nothing but wins there.
I love that. And the best part too, one of my favorite parts with a new organization is the first time we go in, to a new population, I mean, you hear financial literacy and you're like, boo, that sounds like a lame way to spend my night. And then we get a couple of folks to come, and then they're like, oh, that was actually like fun and like engaging, or took something away. And so then the second or third time we have a much bigger group than the first, just because, you know, that word of mouth of like, it's not math class, I promise.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. That's, I mean, you're
You've
doing
got my
great
brain.
work.
You've got my
too, where
brain
it's-
just rolling right
Yeah.
now. We did an event yesterday. Our executive producer Dana
Okay.
Devine is kind of leading the charge on helping kind of pull together this idea of people living with disabilities and employment and those living in low-income housing. Because we learned there's a lot of people living in low-income housing
Yeah.
that have disabilities.
Yeah.
So we got this program building, and we're going to, you know, we're taking this thing nationwide, but that's
Let's
another
go.
component, though,
Yeah.
is the financial literacy piece.
For sure.
People are already afraid to even have a job because they're thinking they might lose their benefits
Yeah.
and things like that. And
Yeah.
just,
You
you
hit a
don't
certain
know.
threshold and you might feel like you're making, yeah, absolutely.
So it's just an interesting thing that, and I feel bad I just didn't pull that together until today.
Well, I
like
mean-
our worlds like need to collide.
Yeah. Well, they just have.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Woo. Nice. Well, what else is happening at the credit union right now that you're getting excited about?
Yeah, one of the other things that I'm really proud of us for is, so we offer financial coaching from certified financial coaches for free for both members and non-members. And the cool part about that is, if you look up, you know, average cost of a financial coach in Spokane, you're typically going to spend somewhere between 120 and 180 bucks an hour. And then so to offer that for free for anyone in our community, not members and members, has been a really cool thing to see grow and level up. And so it started our first year, I think we did like 86, which
That seems kinda high.
We were like, oh, that's amazing. And then the next year we did 201. And then this year we just hit 408. So
Oh, wow. So this
we're-
program's growing.
it's just grown.
Okay, well,
fire.
tell us what that looks like then.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And you say, hey, I'm ready to talk to someone. Like, what's that process look like?
So the first thing is we have our coaches go through a financial coaching program to get their certification. And that can take anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks. And then they take a federal test, and then they become a financial coach. And then from there, I always give an example of what financial coaching looked like in one day. I had 2 appointments, and the first couple, our first pair of members that came in, they were young. They were like in their early 20s, and they were getting married, and they just wanted to see what a budget looked like so they could potentially get a house in a year. And
Smart
they
on
had,
them. They
I was
might
like,
stay married
really?
with the
Yeah,
budget.
I was like, way to go. You're already talking about finances. And then the very next meeting I had was another pair of individuals coming in, and they were coming in because they were getting a no-fault divorce. And it was, 1, expensive, and 2, then they wanted to see what, you know, child support was going to look like and budgeting. And I was like, whoa, totally different energy in the room, right? But really cool to see, again, 2 individuals working together around money in a maybe more complicated area.
But they both
But
needed
yeah,
help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh.
And then, you know, we have folks coming all the time to talk about their credit score and see what, you know, maybe ways are to improve it. And my favorite thing is there's just no shame or there's no pressure when people come in. They might come in with a 418 credit score, and they won't have a single piece of shade or shame thrown their way. It's just truly to see, okay, this is where we're at. This is where you want to be. So here's our game plan. Like, we got this. And then really just trying to level up and empower that person, because again, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes for our members, our individuals in our community, you do know, let's say, ways that your credit score is impacted. And sometimes you just don't have the means. If it comes between
True.
not paying your credit card and not paying your utilities, yeah, you're going to pay your utilities every time, and you should. And so we're there.
I remember making those choices when I was real young.
Yeah,
like just trying to get out.
absolutely.
It's like,
You're like, how many
what are you
credit
gonna
cards
do?
can I put this on? So it's, yeah.
I remember making the wrong choices too, and watching come home one day and the power was off. Like, damn.
It's those core memories, and it's you don't know what you don't know, or you don't have the means to do what you do know sometimes. So
Incredible. And how big is your team?
So we started with 1 financial coach, and I think we're up to 12 or 13 now with 4 more on the way. And so it's just
Okay, so
Canopy's
this is an
fully
investment.
invested into
Yep.
this process. And we've just seen the impact that this has had on our nonprofit business partners that we work with, because we'll bring financial coaches into organizations too, just to do one-on-one sessions with their participants. But we've just seen the impact in our community and had that feedback. We're like, this is awesome. We actually we're something that we're really proud of, if I can toot Canopy's horn for a second.
Please do.
We just won a national award where we came in 2nd place for adult education. And we
A
just
national
found
award?
Yeah, and we just found that out.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's all, again, that team and Charlotte setting this as a precedent for this is who we are and this is what we're going to focus on. And just seeing the gap that, hey, this is something we can fill that's not being fulfilled in our community right now.
Yeah, I'm blown away. I didn't realize just that's the level of impact, a credit union can have, and it's a choice, right?
Yeah, for
That
sure.
You all have decided this is where you want to go.
And it's just so easy too when you come to work and, that's the mission that you can get behind so passionately, and everyone else around you is passionate about fulfilling that. Again, as I call myself a failed social worker as a compliment, but it's something that makes coming to work so fun and exciting and engaging.
Okay, so then this brings up another idea for me, because I have a bias, I think, in my mind. That's there's a requirement, right, for any financial institution to give back to the community.
Sure.
So that's correct, right?
I wouldn't say there is a requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Help educate me.
I think that's one of the last things in terms of when we're looking at a sponsorship request. One of the last things that we look at is, that what branding goes into it for us, or what it's just, again, a lot of these organizations either are underfunded or don't have that financial institution support. So we don't expect them to have a big Canopy banner at an event they have. It's just more of hey, this is the need in our community. They're doing really cool things, and we want to make sure we support that. And certainly there's those bigger, if we look at a Hoop Fest or something like that, there's going to be those, I want, 10
and it should
backboards or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
how else are you going to, get your message out where,
sure.
hey, look at all the good we're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to do business with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I think it depends on the organization. I think if they're well-founded and financially stable and maybe have a lot of other financial institution support, those conversations can happen a little more organically. And then I think if they fall into that triangle of undersupported, under-resourced, or underestimated, that's just such a thought that's on the back burner where it's cool, this is what you need right now, so let's see if we can get you going and squared away.
I dig it.
Thank you.
Kurtis, so what's your journey look like? How'd you get to Spokane?
So I grew up in Spokane.
All right.
And I went to Mount Spokane High School. And then I moved to Ellensburg and went to Central Washington.
Nice, the Berg.
The Berg. And I did my undergraduate and graduate there. Started doing social work in Ellensburg. And then, my wife and I met there, and we loved Ellensburg, just this small town feel. And lived there for 7 years, moved back to Spokane, and did social work here with the tribes for a while. And then was fortunate to, when I was ready for that chapter of my life to close, for the one with Canopy to open up. Yeah. And so that's kind of the journey of how we got back to Spokane. And
is this going to be your spot? Do you want to stay here?
We love Spokane. The only place we would actually move to is New Zealand. We've been there, and we just are obsessed with it. It's amazing. And
the vibe,
yeah,
the
so
feel,
it's Spokane
everything.
or New Zealand.
Well,
so yeah,
those are clear choices.
Yeah.
I hear New Zealand's pretty cool. One of my buddies, Devin Biondi, is the North American rep for all New Zealand hops.
No way.
I know, it's this weirdest job ever. He lives in Spokane, but he basically works for New Zealand farmers. Wow. And so, he's dealing with selling hops to by the boatload.
Does he need an intern?
Right. I'll ask.
Okay.
Yeah. It was but he just raves about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
all right.
incredible.
Y'all got it on my radar
Yes.
now. I'm ready to see it.
There you go. Head to the Shire. Just, you'll get lost there.
Kurtis, anything else that you're thinking about now that you think our listeners should know about Canopy, about you, or just credit unions in general?
Yeah, I think that when you're thinking that you're going to get turned away somewhere or you're going to have no support, I think it's really good to just have that open conversation and just, come talk to a financial coach or come just connect with us. Because one, we're excited to hear people's stories, and something that we say internally and externally a lot is your credit score doesn't tell the whole story, right? And
it's not who you are.
Yeah. And the hard part is there are financial institutions in the U.S. and in Spokane that you can't even open up a savings account if your credit score is not 640. And 640 isn't, that average in Spokane is 678. It's not.
So there's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people that. And again, if you get turned away by one financial institution, it makes sense to lump most together, and you don't want to feel embarrassed or anxious about that. But there are really cool organizations out there that passionately want to serve and work with those individuals and help them go from a financially surviving to a financially thriving situation. And really just answer that question of one of my favorite questions I ask with groups is, what is wealth to you? And especially with these translated workshops we've been doing, the answers are just like beautiful and unique. Sometimes I'll go ask that to like a teenager here in Spokane, and they'll be like, oh, owning a boat and a Tesla. And I was like, nice. Yeah. But for a lot, like one I heard the other day was, oh, just not worrying when I get to the checkout stand, whether it's for a pack of gum or a whole week's worth of groceries. And I was like, oh, chef's kiss, man. I love that. Like that's so simple and powerful. And so that's just where the unique part is we'll work with you wherever. Is wealth the Tesla and boat to you, or is it being able to buy rotisserie chicken without having to worry about your card getting declined?
So we're hearing a lot of great information, but what are something that maybe differentiates Canopy from anyone else?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of my favorite things that Canopy does is, so we're what's called a CDFI, or a Community Development Financial Institution. We're the only deposit-taking one in Spokane. And essentially what that designation means from that 30,000-foot level is you are going to help people and lend to people that are typically overlooked or turned away by financial institutions.
Okay, so that's like in the charter.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And so we have, guidelines that to keep our designation, which is one of the things that we're most proud of. We have certain guidelines that we have to make sure we're doing, which really at the end of the day just lines up with our mission, vision, and values. But that's things like, again, taking those populations that are turned away by other financial institutions, making sure that they're not feed out of accounts, right? That we hear that happens all the time. So making sure that they're not going to receive that, right? They're not going to receive that treatment, and giving them opportunities where others may have not.
Okay. Well, is that unique to Spokane, or does every, city have like a financial institution like that?
Yeah, there are CDFIs all over the country, but it is unique to Spokane, where Canopy's the only deposit-taking one, which has just been a really special place to find ourselves in, because we're able to have conversations with a lot of groups that need a CDFI, and they need that financial institution that will, one, hear their story, and two, support them in one way or another.
Incredible. You heard it right here, everybody. Yeah, listen to Good Gab. You're going to learn a lot. Kurtis, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
I appreciate it.
today.
I love your energy.
Yeah,
this has just been awesome.
Yeah. Well, just blowing my mind, and I know, we're going to help a lot of people with disabilities together.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt.
That's powerful. I love that.
Well, have a great rest of your day,
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks
Happy
for coming
holidays.
on. Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.